Steelers at Saints. This is Sunday Night Football, Halloween night. Marco, you're known as a Pittsburgh guy. Tell us something about this Steeler team coming into this game that the average handicapper is going to miss.
Well, first off, I want to tell you that it is Halloween night, Sunday night, New Orleans. I heard a rumor that the Saints, they're dressing up. They're coming as the defending Super Bowl champs, and nobody will recognize them.
Now, I should tell the viewers out there, for the first time this entire year, we actually did a second take coming in. We actually have gone live on every take. But there was a mistake that I made. We did a second take, and actually Marco did that joke the first time, and everyone groaned. And I got to give you credit. You're a man of your conviction, because everyone else would have not tried that joke again. But you said, I'm sticking to it. All right, so as a Pittsburgh guy, what are handicappers going to miss? One factor about this game.
Well, last week, even though Pittsburgh won last week, that was a negative spot for Pittsburgh, so they're going to be coming in on a better note this week. And the reason last week was a flat spot is you go back 2 weeks ago, they played Cleveland at home. That was Big Ben's return. A lot of emotion, a lot of,
No, I understand.
Then they went on the road to play at Miami, playing for a team, a northern team playing in Miami with the Heat, and the Steeler team had to play in their black jerseys in that heat. Flat spot looking ahead to this week.
So the fact they won by one and didn't cover, a lot of people lost money, going to be down on the Steelers. You think that the factors made it where that performance was probably a good performance?
That performance come out the way it did. They played the way I thought. They came out, fumbled the first two possessions. It was a flat spot, and that's the way they played. But at the end, they made the plays they need to play to win. And moving into this week, it's a better situation. But on the flip side, New Orleans, we talk a lot of times about Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde teams. This team here, how could they go 2 weeks in a row where they play a great game at Tampa Bay 2 weeks ago, then last week just an ugly performance against the same Cleveland Browns that the Steelers just beat.
Okay, so your point on New Orleans is we've got a hot and cold team, which is, unless you can identify what causes that hot and cold, they're hard to handicap. Okay, now here's the thing about the Saints. The Saints are 12-3 ATS off a loss. So with a good coach, and Payton's a good coach, is they seem to turn it around when they do underperform. So that would give a little mark on the New Orleans side. I'm actually inclined to, and I'm going to give the projection on this game, I have the slightest lean to Pittsburgh. I actually thought, coming into the year, you would have never thought, the Saints were one of the Super Bowl favorites. Pittsburgh was 22-1 entering the season, and I actually, and I'll give myself a little tout right now, when I was on First Take on ESPN, they asked me for a Super Bowl long shot. I gave the Steelers, and my point was this was a team that Vegas believed to be the best team in football last year, pretty much throughout the whole year. Breaks didn't go their way. Troy got hurt, the whole thing, and I think this year, once Big Ben came back, they were going to be pretty much the same team, and I think we've seen that be the case. And I think that their consistency is really stunning. And this is a point I've made a couple times. I'm going to make it one more time, and I'll probably keep making it until it's not the case. All of last year and all of this year, so we're looking at, 16 games last year, 6 games they've played this year? So we're looking at 22 games. There's only been one game they've been down by more than a touchdown at any point in the game, and it was the Browns last year. So literally they've been within a score of the lead or a tie every second of every game except one. Now, there's no team in football it's not that they haven't been beat by more than 7. They haven't ever been down by more than 7. This is a team that fundamentally their defense is so good. And when Big Ben is playing, the offense is so capable that they really are a great team. And now their special teams is taken care of. Personally, I think they're the best team in football. But now, are they 3 points better? Because at Pick'em or so is what the line is. And New Orleans has one of the best home fields. So I don't want to bet against the best team in football. But New Orleans has one of the best home fields. If they're ever going to make it come together, it's going to be on this national televised game. I think the line might be about right with the slightest edge to the Steelers.
Public perception right now, the line is right. I mean, at the beginning of the season, this game, I don't have.
Game would be 4.5.
I was going to say 3.5, 4 for sure. But this is nothing new for a Super Bowl team. This happens so often that when you
Is
have
it the Super Bowl team or is it the team that loses? Isn't the cliche is the team that loses the Super Bowl does poorly?
the Super Bowl winner does poorly as well too, unless it's one of these established teams that's perennially there. But when you get these teams that just jump out of nowhere and make their run to the Super Bowl, it's tough for them to keep that same intensity the whole year. But what you do find is when you get games like this, and we talk about marquee. This is as marquee as it gets. It's Sunday Night Football, and it's against one of the most storied franchises in football. And we talk about it. A great stat that you said with the Steelers. Another great stat: the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the best traveling teams in
You mean with the fan base?
With the fan base, they're all across the country. It doesn't matter what city you go to. There are Pittsburgh Steeler clubs that you can go to.
But the thing that makes me think that's not going to be so prevalent this game is that you got to be able to buy tickets. So when there's a place that doesn't usually sell out, or season ticket holders will take double face, like you'll see like Washington a couple years ago on Monday Night Football, Steelers came and had half the stadium because Washington wasn't really enthused. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh, it wasn't that much of a travel. New Orleans is a further travel, and too, their fans are rabid. And I'm not so sure you're not going to see a quarter of the stadium with terrible towels, I don't think. But you do make a good point. They're a good road team. Mm-hmm. The question is how much of it is their ability to travel fan base wise, and will that be negated this week?
Well, there's definitely talk about venues. We talked earlier about Minnesota venue with being in the Metrodome. Playing in New Orleans in the Dome, that crowd, it's always crazy. And let's face it, it's Halloween night. They're going to be partying even more. It's going to be just a rabid crowd. It's going to be a tough game for the Steelers.
All right. So a couple other points that speak against the Saints is they've played against a rookie quarterback 3 times this year. So already, if there's ever a spot in the NFL, especially if it's not some super performing rookie, which lately there's been a few, but these have been 3 rookies, none of them very impressive, and they're 1-2. Mm-hmm. So it's not even as if they've had a tough schedule. Except for the Tampa Bay blowout in which they played really well, they've been outscored by 26 points in the rest of their games in net. Mm-hmm. So you take away one good performance, and this is a team that's almost 4 touchdowns down against their opponents this year, and it hasn't been that tough of a schedule. So to me, it's like it's almost as if the Saints, every week it's like, well, they're going to turn it on, they're going to turn it on. If the Saints had lost to the Vikings in the championship game, which they could have easily last year, how much differently would we be looking at this team? It'd be a team that went to the championship game, lost at home, and now they're getting outscored by 4 touchdowns except for one game. Wouldn't it almost be like they'd be an average team? How much premium is still on this Saints team just because of the fact that Brett Favre threw that late interception?
I agree with what you're saying, but I think the public perception is really dissipating over what they've done the last couple of weeks.
Except the Steelers, the Steelers are the type of team, or let's look at it. They were laying 3 to Miami. What's Miami, New Orleans on a neutral right now? New Orleans about 3, right?
Right.
So it seems like the bandwagon hasn't been jumped off of yet because, there's not many teams in football the Saints are going to be not a favorite to at home, Pittsburgh being one of them.
Right. The other thing that's, if you want to talk about public perception, even though Pittsburgh won last week, there are going to be people that are going to look at that game that saw that last play, the highlight, and say the Steelers caught a break because the referee didn't see who grabbed the ball.
Or if he would have went another 2 inches, they would have covered. So there's a lot of ways to look at that.
One other point that I will bring up, whether New Orleans is, underperforming or not this year, the fact remains this will be the best quarterback that the Steelers have faced so far this year.
Maybe the best quarterback in football. All right. So, and I would agree with what you're saying, is if there's one thing as an avid Steeler fan that causes me pause, is the Steelers can stop the run against anyone, a really good passing team that commits to it. And that's what's funny is against the San Diegos of the world, the Steelers have always done well. They try to run, And the Saints are the team that just will not run. They'll accept not running, and I'm wondering on turf, and that's not, that fast track of the Dome, the Steelers' D-backs I think are improved, but it probably is not a matchup I love with them because of that, and you bring up a good point. We're going to do a coupon real quick, though. What's the Reggie Bush factor? I see he's now probable. I mean, he can't be 100%. How much do you adjust for him?
He definitely helps New Orleans, but he's not going to be 100% if he does come back. And boy, if I'm Reggie Bush, this is not the defense I want to come back and face after an injury, because you're going to take a physical pounding if they run the ball with him. Reggie Bush never showed me a lot of heart.
Give us the coupon for this week.
The coupon, NBA is underway, so in celebration of the NBA underway, so you can be playing every day, guys. NBA 10. Coupon, the word NBA, number 10, and you'll get $10 off. Just use it when you go to the shopping cart. Enter it in the coupon code, $10 off your purchase.
Now, this is my official projection is the Steelers winning by 1, but I got to tell you, I think this is a game. What were you saying, Dustin? Oh, I thought you were saying something. Is winning by 1, but to be honest, this is one of those games I think the line's right. Is at 3. I would love at +3. I would love the Steelers. At -3, I would love the Saints. And either team getting 3 maybe is the way to say I would take here. At Pick'em, I think the line's about right, and it might just be one to watch.
Might be, or with that stat you gave earlier, RJ, this might be a team to look at, with the Steelers if the game's a Pick'em and you can get the Steelers in 7 on a teaser. They have.
You make a great point there, actually. And especially if this game, and again, 6-point teasers are the most common. You always want to tease through 3 and 7. If you can, in the NFL, you get great value. If New Orleans gets to 1.5 anywhere, you can tease that up to Steelers +7.5. That would be a play I'd be excited about, and I'd be teasing up through 3 and 7. That's a great point. All right, now it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section with Marco and me. And next up, we're going to be talking about our last game of the week, Monday Night Football.